Obviously, we were kind of a bit of a, the talk of the town in terms of being new agents. The way we looked was different. But, word of mouth was very powerful for us and still is to this day.
Lose control to gain control.
A little bit.
We've talked about that, haven't we?
Yeah. And you've got to be confident in your leadership and what you impart.
Nobody wakes up in the morning and think, God, you know what, I can't wait to go to work today and be managed.
Yeah.
It's just not something, but we call managers managers.
Yeah.
Directors, we direct, but you don't want to be a director that just barks orders at everybody. No. We're there to lead by example.
Welcome everyone, A State of Mind podcast. We thought, Kenny and I, thought it would be really good to bring Nathan on the show. Nathan, we started the business together. So it was me, Kenny and Nathan. The very first day Stow Brothers opened, Nathan was there with us, head of lettings from the very beginning. So I think it'd be really important, 11 years in, Nathan, you come on board, we all have a little chat about where we are, what some of our growth pains have been, maybe a bit of advice for any letting agents out there. Thanks for coming on, mate.
Thank you for having me. It's been a very, interesting 11 years. We've learned a lot along the way. In terms of where we are now, I would say, a very established estate agency in our area and the patches that we cover. And it feels like, we're going from strength to strength.
Are we? Let me say, are we the biggest independent estate agency in East London now?
I would say so.
Are you surprised by how it's gone?
Do you know what? I'm not surprised because of the effort and desire and will that we've had from day one. But I do think there are elements of luck along our journey. And, I think we've been very fortunate. We've been lucky, haven't we?
What do you think?
Been lucky.
I wouldn't put it all down to luck, but there is 100% there's an element
What pieces of luck, what luck do you think we've had?
I think timings, without knowing, what was going to transpire, even just like little things like surviving the pandemic. Like there were times that, no one had a clue what it meant for their industry. And for us, it was like, I don't know if I voiced it to you guys, but I didn't know whether that was going to be the end of, what we were doing.
No, you never voiced it, actually. No, you didn't.
No,
but
I was secretly like, what does this mean?
If anything, I think that was a big talking point. I mean, we talk about it a lot, how, that we took that period and thought, well, let's come out of this a stronger, better agency. And I think how, especially from our sort of digital footprint and how we view social media and just our media generally, I feel like we really kicked on a level.
I do as well.
Because of that.
Yeah, without a doubt.
We did our first piece to camera during lockdown.
We did, didn't we?
For social media. So it's the beginning of our social media journey.
Can you imagine bringing that back on now?
I had hair back then, this little wisp of hair, and me and Kenny both shaved our heads during lockdown.
What do you think, Nath, is one of the things that we, our success, what can you attribute it to? Do you think, what is it that we're doing differently?
I think we do a lot of things differently. I think having worked, my experience obviously at other companies, I don't want to say is limited, but it is limited to those few companies that I worked at. I think our focus to want to continually develop and, place our clients at the forefront of the decisions that we make has been, it's paid dividends. That core focus of making sure we deliver the best possible service we can. We're not perfect, we make mistakes, but, the intention is always, right. Yeah. And I think that's resonated with people from day one. Obviously, we were kind of a bit of a, the talk of the town in terms of being new agents. The way we looked was different, but, word of mouth was very powerful for us and still is to this day. But I think that is kind of, what allowed us to grow in such an oversaturated market.
Do you think out of, I know you're not really on the front line so much anymore doing valuations, but when you were doing valuations, what was it that people were saying, why they were calling us in?
Initially, it was, trying to understand, because obviously, our branding kind of allows us to stand out from the crowd, and initially people wanted to know, were curious, wanted to know how we did things differently, what it was that we were doing differently. And, after having just, conversations with people, this is another thing as well, it was never a sales pitch when we were on evaluation. It was just an honest conversation. Some people didn't like the honesty in the sense of they were hoping we would be a little bit more ambitious on pricing or what have you. But, you know, it was always an honest conversation. I think that set us apart from the beginning.
Nate, how often do Kenny and I use the word profit?
That wasn't really a conversation.
And now?
Now, still not so much. I mean, we focus on, obviously it's a business, so we've got to look at the aspects of what makes sense to allow us to continue to grow, viability, etc. All these different ideas that we want to invest in, AI, this, that, whatever. So it's never a focus, no.
How often have you think we've said it, the word? Very few.
What, over the span over a year? Or
the reason I'm saying it is because I think there's a lesson to be learnt there. You know, you got to the drive for profit, and I think we always wanted to have a drive to be kind and compassionate, treating our staff well, and it happened that it started to work, and you know, this kind of way of working, this just trying to, you know, provide a community of an estate agent that can be proud of, and the more we focused on it, the more successful we became. And the drive was never, we want to make profit, we want to make profit, we want to make money. It was never a driving force, was it?
Exactly that, in terms of what you've said, because it wasn't our focus. We always kind of knew that the primary focus is being an estate agent our community can be proud of. And in doing that, you know, the volume of business that came along with that off the back of, you know, all the good conversations and the recommendations that people were giving us, naturally we were able to make more money and grow and expand the business and invest and, you know, donate to, you know, local charities and stuff like that. So, you know, that was never the focus, never the focus.
What's the biggest challenge you faced at Stow Brothers? What's the biggest challenge you've had?
I would say one of, and there's probably a few, but one of the bigger challenges is kind of adapting to the growth. You know, I've always kind of been a person that's just always wanted to be super hands-on, and, you know, as you grow, you know, that kind of way of working isn't necessarily fit for purpose. You need to, you know,
lose control to gain control.
A little bit.
We've talked about that, haven't we?
Yeah. And you've got to be confident in your leadership and what you impart in the people that you're working with, that they're going to do the job the way you really like it to be done.
I think leadership is a really important word.
And do you know what I think one of the biggest challenges is? I think is getting the right team dynamics correct.
No one teaches you how to be a leader.
Yeah, and no one teaches you how to deal with personalities.
No.
You know, the interplay. And we've had in the past some instances, and that's something I think really thankful that we've had those instances where, you know, certain team members just aren't gelling, or the atmosphere in the team, and then a certain office is just going off the boil, with the positive or negativity starting to set in.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I personally have learned, and I don't know whether you have as well, Nath, is that you know, that the vibe in the office, the energy, it just has to be a positive one and an enthusiastic one.
It has to be positive. It has to be right. Everyone needs to be broadly on the same, singing from the same hymn sheet. And if you're not, you know, you're not going to be quite aligned, and that's going to affect the end result in terms of what you're trying to achieve for your customers, your clients, your tenants, your landlords.
It makes me reminisce, right, when we opened, the three of us, three confident young men, estate agents, all very, very good at our relative jobs. And now we're not even doing those jobs anymore. Right. You know, 11 years later, we're not estate agents anymore. We're having to be leaders. And I think no one teaches you how to be a leader. So all your 25 years of being an estate agent, okay, you know, you've gained some insights into how to be a leader, but you don't really learn how to be a leader until you're a leader. Yeah. And I think we've had to learn on the job. No one's taught us how to be leaders. We had inspiration from people that we've worked with in the past, but we don't know anyone who's been in the position. The companies that we worked for before weren't as big as what the Stow Brothers is now.
No.
So we're learning on the job. We're still learning on the job, aren't we, Nath?
Oh yeah, every day. I think, you know, I draw a lot from my peers, you guys, in terms of, you know, the way that you kind of portray yourself, but, you know, also just the things that you're actively doing. And I think you're right. You can't really be taught how to be a leader. You either, I think there is part of an instinct in you as a person to be that person, but to grow into, you know, the type of leader that a company that we're, you know, continually trying to grow is tough, and you have to learn by mistakes. You have to, you know, read a lot. Of something that I'm trying to do actively more of.
What are you reading at the moment, Nate?
The most recent book that I am attempting to read is called Good to Great, I think.
Yeah.
I think how businesses go. It's a good one.
I think it is a good one. I think that the realization, especially for me, set in when I realized that we're here for the people that work for us. That is the responsibility as a leader. You're here for the people. You're here. Your responsibility is the people that work for you. And I think that mental standpoint is really beneficial, because when you're a growing business and you're one office, really you're only really thinking about survival. You're thinking about gaining market share. It really is about you winning business. But then you get to a certain size, and actually you need to start thinking, if you want to continue to grow and break the 1-2 offices, you need to start thinking about the people that work for you. They need to start being a priority, because you're not going to get to the size without making those people the priority in the business. You need help. You need to get to a point where you need some help.
Do you know what though? I actually think even the word manager or the word director is bad insinuations, because what they are, they're leaders, okay? And
they're mentors.
Like we said earlier, nobody wakes up in the morning and think, God, you know what, I can't wait to go to work today and be managed. It's just not something, but we call managers. Directors, we direct, but you don't want to be a director that just barks orders at everybody. No. We're there to lead by example. We're there to look after the people in our charge.
It's mentorship, Ken. 100%. It's mentorship.
And that's what I think maybe we need to reframe even what we call these positions.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it just puts out the wrong impression. Because
my next question for Nath was the evolution of leadership, the evolution that we're going through currently. And I think what we're finding is it is about ensuring our leadership is the correct way. Our ethos, the reason for our being is being communicated constantly to the people that work for us. That is becoming a role in itself. That is becoming the job, because we need to understand that our business has a heart, it has a reason for being, and a purpose. And I think that needs to be communicated. That is our responsibility now. Our responsibility is the people that work for us, and they need to understand that they're working for people that want the best for them. And that is the responsibility of a leader.
That also, starts with, now the hiring process. I think when in the very early days, hiring people there wasn't so much of I don't want to say we've nailed it down to a T, but there is a little bit more of a structure and a science.
Oh, we've made some shockers in the past here.
Oh, God, yeah. We really
trying to think of some of the people we've had.
Oh, wow.
I mean, without going into specifics, but I think now, there's an understanding, there's gut feeling involved in it as well, but if you're not employing the right people, whatever message it is that you want to try and instill in them from what we want of them and for them, if you're not employing the right people from the beginning, it's going to be difficult to get to that, that point that we want to get to.
And do you know what I want to get out there? The message is that I never, even when I was an 18, 19-year-old estate agent, I never considered myself to be a stereotypical estate agent. And there was at times where I'm thinking, should I really be in this industry? Is this right for me? Maybe I should be doing something different. And I really want to get out there that I think if you like property and you like customer service and you think you can sell, but you don't want to be an estate agent or what people perceive estate agents to be, I think we're a really good place for people like that, where force draconian KPIs, or overly manage people's time.
Profit share.
We open a profit share. We allow people to be people, and we treat them like human beings, and we care about who people we employ. This is an environment for people that want that, but also want to work hard. And want to do a good job for people. Because anybody that is in a corporate company and thinks like this property is not for me, but they enjoy fundamentally what they do, then they need to look at some other alternative companies, because
100%.
We welcome people like that, don't we? Especially the people who've got a bit of experience, who want to change careers or want to go from a more corporate company into something a little bit more local. We're a good option.
I think having a really clear culture, a real clear culture is really important for a business, because in the longer time goes on, you start to appeal to your people. People are now coming to us because they've seen our social media, they've seen how active we are with the community, they've seen, they've seen how, our culture, and they resonate with that. Yeah. So they go, I could work for them. I like the sound of that, and there's lots of people in this room behind the camera, and I suspect that all of them probably thought, oh yeah, I'm going to approach them because actually I like what they're saying. I like the way they do business, and I think that you need to have a really clear culture. And I think once you've nailed that as a business, you've got a real clear understanding, then the type of individuals that you want to work for you will naturally approach you.
They'll be attracted.
We've mentioned about community estate agents to be proud of, but our other mantra is to be the antithesis of stereotypical estate agents. That is really, our guiding principles, and that help, feed down into the whole of the company, right down to who we hire. Yeah, it's been massive, and we've learned because we made mistakes, haven't we?
Yeah, of course. I mean, naturally you're going to make mistakes, but I think that the way that we've, dealt with them, taken them on the chin, and kind of, learnt from that and moved forward has been one of our main strengths. And going back to the culture, it's been super important, and like you said, people have been aligned with the way that we do things and want to and have been attracted to that, and have reached out to us directly, which is great.
So what are you working on, Nathan, at the moment? What's a key priority for you?
So the immediate key priority is kind of really just trying to understand and stay on top of all these changes that are due to change in the lettings market and tenancy law, and just be on top of that and kind of understanding how we adapt. Very difficult at the moment to kind of really pinpoint a lot of the things that are due to be coming in, but they're giving us quite a varied amount of information that we can work with at the moment, and it's just kind of, again, really understanding that so that we can make sure we're advising all of our clients, tenants and landlords, in the right way.
Yeah, I think it's important that in every change there's opportunity.
Of course.
And it is that looking at this change and looking at it as an opportunity for us to take the next step, to evolve as a business. Lettings is going to change. But let's look at it as an advantage. I think a lot of people out there could look at it and go, oh God, it's going to change, Section 21, whatever it is, but I think our psychology is let's look at it and let's make a positive out of the situation. Let's be better
coming.
because of
it's
it.
Coming. You've got to embrace it.
There's a lot of people spouting out a lot of doom, a lot of negativity, and I just don't think I certainly agree with it.
I think it's going to be good for
I think it's an opportunity for us letting agents, but I also think that some of the changes that are going to come in won't affect the lion's share of the landlords that we deal with.
No.
Because we've talked about this before. I think if you're a good landlord and you've got a good letting agent and you've got good intentions, and I don't think you've got anything to worry about.
No, you're right. And, there are...
But you do need to be aware of what's happening and what's changing.
Oh, 100%. I mean, there's going to be a lot of things that, aside from whether you're a good landlord or not, just kind of in terms of being on top of just certain compliance changes and stuff like that. But like you said, if you're a good landlord, largely a lot of these things won't affect you. So, we should be fine. It's all about adaptation.
But I do think there are, from what I hear, some potential for more rent repayment orders or some avenue for landlords to be fined. So I think it is quite important that your compliance is down to a T, and you're dealing with an agent that really knows what they're doing and has really thoroughly done their research into it, because there is an element of risk there.
Yeah, I think the main thing that we're kind of already seeing at the moment now is a lot more landlords that were, willing and prepared to self-manage their properties are kind of being a little bit, not concerned, but, actually that is the right word. They want to be protected. They want to make sure that they, things are happening in the right way. So we're seeing a lot more landlords that were probably a lot more prepared to take on those challenges now coming to us saying, actually, do you know what?
I need help. I want support. I want
support.
Team.
Yeah.
I want a team.
Yeah.
I want you on my team.
Which is exactly what we offer. So, it's great from that aspect, because there's a lot of landlords that do, care about the changes that we're all going to be faced with in the very near future. But, reassuring that, they're coming to us and wanting to upgrade their level of service because they've got the trust in us to make sure that we manage that for them effectively. So it's nice to see.
Yeah. Thank you, Nathan.
Cheers, guys.
Anything else you want to talk
very
about?
much.
No, I think
here's the next 10 years, Nath. We're going to put a lot more work on your plate, mate.
I'm gonna need another hair transplant.
Cheers, mate. Thanks,
Thank
mate.
you. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.